We say a very good morning to Laila Cunningham, Westminster City Council for Reform, and I will tell you will be the next Mayor of London. Laila, good morning. How are you?
Morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Main news headlines today, all over the Times, predominantly in other papers, 1 million more on benefits with no need to work, making a total of 4 million. That's alongside the bloodbath of 1,000 people losing their jobs a day under Rachel Reeves. I said then, Laila, that whenever we talk about benefits, it's a dodgy area because people think that reform, let's say, would come in and axe the benefits of people who genuinely need it. That's not the point, is it? What it needs to do is look at people who are gaming the system, and in that process, making sure that people who deserve claims are missing out. Is that not the truth?
Yeah, I mean, basically what we have now is an economy where it's easier to be signed off than to work. Ill health is now one of the biggest drags on our growth, and we don't have growth. And also, it's sad because we're losing a generation to inactivity. So every young person who drops out of the workforce, it costs the taxpayer millions of pounds, and we don't give them the opportunity to be successful. And like you said previously, we cannot fund a welfare state if fewer people are working. The article says that we're heading for a 100 billion benefits bill and a shrinking tax base. So how are we supposed to pay for it? I mean, literally, Britain isn't working.
And I think the point as well is, which is really relevant, because it is important to keep banging home so that the people who are genuine claimants understand that whatever party comes to power is not about attacking them. It's about looking at an inflated bill. You just said it, £100 billion a year. I'm all for talking about mental health, and I'm all for paying into a system that helps those who cannot help themselves. But maybe I'm old-fashioned, Laila. It was never meant to be a career choice. It was supposed to be a safety net. It is swamped by people gaming the system, and also people who genuinely, you heard the last guy, who for once in his life asked for something, had to pay it all back. It's imbalanced and wrong, and it's an absolute drain financially. And we have a government that won't do anything about it because their own backbench MPs forced that. You know, he wanted to knock 5 billion off the welfare, but in the end it was nothing. He couldn't get it through, Starmer, because all the leftists think we should pay people to do nothing. That's not right. It doesn't make sense.
No, and like you said, we're paying for their political weakness because their backbenchers wouldn't allow any kind of reform. We've built a benefit system that traps people instead of helping them back on their feet. Like you say, it's meant to be welfare is meant to be a temporary state, but it's become a permanent replacement for work and frankly, dignity. And until we have a government that has the courage to link welfare to work, Britain's going to keep paying the price economically and socially. But that's the problem. The thing is, Starmer said before he came into power, he said that he's a socialist, and that's an ideology that feeds off dependency. And because dependency means control. So, you know, they don't reward the taxpayer that gets up every morning, you know, leaves their family, works, pay their way. They're treated like a bottomless pit to be drained rather than respected, because socialism has to survive on dependence. It needs people reliant on the state. And I think that's what we're seeing.
As Thatcher once said, socialists are very good at spending everybody else's money until they realise that the bills are added up and we're skint. I'd love your response even. I spoke to Nigel the other day. Donald Trump overnight confirming that he will sue the BBC for $1 billion. I don't know where you stand on this, Laila, but whilst the Trump thing's important and the doctoring of that speech, the fact they hid this report for 6 months is important, I think it's a seminal moment for the BBC. I think there is so much wrong with it. I think it's biased. I don't think it's filtered or produced in the right way. It's supposed to be our state broadcaster. I don't even need to list the calamities that have taken place, from Savile to Martin Croxall to the Hamas documentary to whatever you want to say. It seems to a lot of us in broadcasting, Laila, it's a pretty unfair playing field, and the BBC at 5.39 billion quid a year needs to be playing on the same pitch as the rest of us. And they've proven, I think, by not having that their output is biased and wrong. But apparently, if you say that, you're far right, according to Tim Davie and Nick Robinson.
Yeah, and I think Lisa Nandy called it a shining light, please. It's not a shining light anymore. It's a state-funded indoctrination tool. And I feel it's led by activists with a specific political agenda that shapes the narrative. And like you say, they look down on anyone who thinks differently. And you know what's the worst part, Jeremy? I have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I don't see why I have to pay for it. I've got hundreds of channels online. I barely watch the BBC. I feel it's the only service in this country that if I don't use it, I still have to pay for it. Why?
Well, it was
And
interesting that one of the BBC, one of the ex-producers was laying into me yesterday and saying, we did Traitors, we did Strictly, we had the Lionesses, 12.2 million people watching. And I went, yes. So you can stand in front of a subscription-based population and say, those programmes are very popular, pay to watch them. Your news output is not unbiased, it should not be funded, it is blatantly not looking at all sides of the argument. You're supposed to be able to tell, aren't you, by what it says on the tin. I think we know what we get from The Guardian or Talk or The Sun or LBC or whatever it is. But with the BBC, I expect impartiality. You're right. It's ideologically indoctrinating, and I think it's high time that changes. Very quickly before you go, Calamity Lammy, unbelievable. I know we hope that you stand for mayor in London. This man admits yesterday that 91 prisoners have been released in the last 12 months under this government, whilst 3, probably most of them from, I don't know, Walthamstow, that's prison or whatever, Wandsworth. 3 prisoners still at large, including an Albanian drug dealer who's been on the run for a year. But Lammy said, I think he's a drug dealer and I think he's released, but he could be back, but I'm not altogether sure. It's our justice system, Laila. It's brilliant, isn't it?
I know he doesn't even know. I mean, he's the Justice Secretary, for God's sake. If he doesn't know, then who the hell does?
Yeah.
It's not just incompetence. I think for me, it's contempt. It's contempt for the public, for the victims, they don't care. They don't care enough to know. They don't care enough to keep these prisoners. And it's the same pattern everywhere. The British public really deserve ministers that care and don't just, shrug their shoulders. You know what? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll let you know.
I fear, I don't fear to say what I'm going to say, but I watched the Labour Party gain this incredible majority by what I called the Ming Vase policy, by saying very little. I mean, for goodness sake, the woman that was planning the first 100 days, Sue Gray, had been gone before they were up, day 93. I fear they had very little plan, but most of all, I think the longer this goes on today, there are rumours about a coup against Starmer. Esther McVeigh said, he's fired the starting pistol himself. You look at that front bench later and you go, they've either gone from, university to a think tank to the Fabian Society. You look at Lammy, you look at Rayner, you look at Louise Haigh. I mean, Tulip Sadiq it's extraordinary. What was she? The corruption minister is being done for corruption. I mean, the whole thing is... And you look at Starmer and you think, God, if he went, I was told this morning the 2 favourites would be Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband. I'm going to have to leave the country, mate. It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, it's a government built on excuses. There's zero accountability. Like you said, the anti-corruption minister got done for corruption. The homelessness minister made people homeless. I mean, the list goes on. The transport minister was a criminal. And he always stands there and he says, I stand by this. They have my full confidence. I'm sorry, we need accountability. We need control. We need leadership that actually believes in protecting us and doing what's right. And Jeremy, right now we have none of that. I feel they've lost their mandate to govern with all the failures that have happened in the past, is it 14 months, believe it or not, or however long?
15 months, that's it. Believe it or don't believe it. Something like 60 weeks, 70 weeks, that's all they've been in, and he's turned a 180-seat majority into a coup. I ask you every time, because I am going to be your campaign manager, you're going to beat Sadiq Khan, aren't you?
If I run, I definitely will beat Sadiq Khan.
Love having you on. Laila Cunningham, thank you so much indeed. Westminster City Council Reform UK.